Hello and welcome to Basement Fodder, the only show whose host will avenge you by Grabthar's hammer. I'm Todd.
I'm Dave.
And speaking of Dr. Lazarus, it's been a sad week, man.
Yeah.
Actually,
it's been like a sad 2016 so far.
Oh shit! It's like 2016. We're ringing it in with just death. Just massive amounts of death.
Yeah.
We had Lemmy, and now this week it's been both David Bowie and Alan Rickman, which are huge ones.
Oh, and then there was, you talked about Angus.
Yeah, and just man alive, dude.
Yeah, Alan Rickman. And not to mention, yesterday they found Jake Lloyd, playing young Anakin Skywalker. He died in his home, too.
Yeah, you said, Angus Scrimm from Phantasm, and fucking Jake Lloyd, who's Anakin Skywalker, and then the guy, who's Brian Bedford, who was the voice of Robin Hood in Disney's Robin Hood, which was a big part of our childhoods for sure.
Yeah.
And still one of, I think, your and not Dave's favorite Disney movies ever.
Yeah.
And probably on the list of mine as an adult. I never really cared about it as a kid, but as an adult I appreciate it so much more.
Yeah. The music helps too, knowing the
oh well, yeah, it's Roger Miller, and I love Roger Miller. It's just what the fuck? I don't I would say the Bowie thing didn't get me as much because I'm not a huge Bowie fan. I like some what I like I love but
that was not Dave. Not Dave was the huge.
Not Dave. Yeah, not Dave is very she doesn't get affected by celebrity death at all usually. She's just sort of meh. That's unfortunate, but not an emotional response or whatever. The only other time that I've seen that happen is when Robin Williams died, and she really had a very visceral reaction to that. But she's been a Bowie fan since she was tiny. Mm-hmm. Her parents kind of raised her on that kind of stuff. And she just broke down when she heard. And even at first it didn't kind of hit me at all. I kind of was well, I like Golden Years, and that's about it. Mm. But then when I sat down and started listening to things and thinking about it more, there's so much more that I liked other than that, Rebel Rebel and Under Pressure, which is one of my all-time favorite songs, but I always associate it with Queen and not with David Bowie for some reason. I guess it's just because I've always been a big Queen fan.
Which is funny, though, because, reading the story on it, it's actually very much a Bowie thing, because they were working together on another song, and it just wasn't really working, so Bowie was just screw this. Let's just do something completely fresh, new, and that's what came out was Under Pressure. Listening to the a cappella version without the music, where it was just Bowie, his vocals, and Freddie Mercury's. I was listening to Starman the other day, and it was I was watching the video and then watching Golden Years when he was on Soul Train. It's interesting to
awesome.
Watch that stuff and then read about the escapades he got into with Iggy Pop and just the crazy life he was. Watching him play Nikola Tesla in the Prestige. He was that's the other thing. He was in a good amount of movies that people don't really recall.
Everybody remembers Labyrinth, and I think that was the big one for Not Dave. That's her movie, and that one, and I have no connection to that movie at all. I found it very creepy when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And then as an adult, I'm there's a lot of singing in this. Yeah. Which doesn't normally bother me, but I'm just meh, and then I can't not look at his horrifying crotch.
But that's an adult thing. As a kid, you never noticed.
A kid, I never noticed that. As a kid, I just thought it was really fucking creepy.
Yeah.
As an adult, I'm just penis, oh god. Yeah. But there's other stuff though, a lot of other things that I remember seeing him in, as an actor that I enjoyed. Just little things like talk show appearances and the time that he was on the Ricky Gervais show and was mocking him vociferously while playing piano. That's awesome. And the Venture Brothers, him he being the sort of big bad on the Venture Brothers was really, really cool. And then things that are about him, but not him, being Flight of the Conchords fans like we are. I always think of the Bowie song, which is one of my favorite things that they've done.
And then him and the Tilda Swinton, going back and forth. It's very interesting. And then realizing how much with Motorhead, how much Motorhead you actually listen to, and especially being wrestling fans, how much Motorhead definitely,
I have just a ridiculous amount of respect for Lemmy. And I was remembering when Lemmy died, I was remembering when Dirk was here for the 100th episode and he told us that amazing story about Lemmy.
Yeah.
And then he posted it, telling the story again. And I was just this is the kind of guy that he was. That one was a rough one too. I just was like, fuck, man.
This one being Alan Rickman, and it's yeah, I understand a lot of stuff about Snape and stuff. It's it's Facebook, it's young kids. That's gonna happen. That's what they know him for.
Yeah.
There's like 8 movies back to back of him being Snape.
I get that. I'm trying not to disrespect it because I really fucking hate Harry Potter.
It's like.
It's Hans Gruber. It's Dr. Lazarus. It's Sheriff of Nottingham. Yeah, like so many other things. It's Sweeney Todd. Any of the stuff that he's done.
Dogma.
The robot, Dogma, the Metatron. God, the robot in fucking Hitchhiker's Guide, which, like, other than that, is a terrible movie, unfortunately. Yeah. But he's perfect in it. And just little shit like Love Actually. Just anything that he's in, he automatically made it 50% better, at least. Just because of the just amazing talent. Like, when I was working this morning, I was finishing up painting a figure, and the news popped up on Facebook. Like, somebody shared, I think it was friend Sandy shared it first, and it was like getting punched in the stomach. Yeah, I was just like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. And I had to stop what I was doing, and I immediately came over and wrote like a blog on the website about it. Yeah. And then I was just looking at pictures of him as Dr. Lazarus, or looking at pictures of him as the one that I used a picture of him as the Metatron because it just seemed like it made sense.
The Metatron.
He had that unforgettable voice, and he had that unforgettable manner. And you know what's so funny? Like, Die Hard was his first movie.
Yeah. And actually, that's
46 years old is when he started his career as an actor. Like,
as an actor, but he was an amazing theater person. But like, that's the funny thing is, like, for me, I love Die Hard. Like, I love the series and stuff. I've watched them all. Mm-hmm. But I can honestly say I would not... Had he not been Hans Gruber first, I don't think I could have really got into Jeremy Irons as the bad guy. Because it's like, you believed that they were related. You believed, like, they're both amazing actors. But at the same time, if he hadn't set that up as Hans, you wouldn't have really... if they had got somebody else, you'd have been like, nah, you need somebody else who has, that same amount of, capabilities. And I think those, like, they will never have bad guys of that caliber in that series again. Like, Timothy Olyphant was good,
he's all right,
but he was not, Alan Rickman, Jeremy Irons, that caliber.
It's gravitas. Like, they bring gravitas to things. Like, Rickman and Jeremy Irons and so many other people, they bring gravitas. Yeah. Like, they bring a presence and, like, a believability, and, like, even if they're over the top, like, okay, other than him and Robin Hood, I hate that movie. Yeah. He's the only redeemable part of that movie for me. I think Kevin Costner's about the worst fucking Robin Hood in the history of man.
I don't know. I like Morgan Freeman.
He's all right. Yeah. Like,
Morgan Freeman.
Morgan Freeman's Morgan Freeman. But, like, yeah, I fucking think I will still say he's the worst fucking Robin Hood.
Kevin Costner is the weak part of that movie, but everyone else for me is solid in their roles.
Fucking Kevin Costner. But, like, no, the sheriff is the best part of the movie.
Oh, God, yeah.
And Rickman is just so, like, maniacally fucking...
It's so just... no, I wouldn't say over the top, but just so, like, showy. Yes, like, he really, was in that, I have the power, and I'm going to, do what I want.
He's just so villainous, like, and likably so. Like, it's that villain that you love to be the villain. It's the, that's the best kind of villain sometimes, is the villain that you love. Like, the villain's like, that guy's so much cooler than the hero. Fuck, who gives a shit about boring ass Kevin Costner?
You're like, no.
With his not even attempting to be British. Like,
not even. Nothing.
He was like, yeah, no fucks. Everybody else is British. I have a fuck. I have a solitary fuck.
This is why, like, as much as I love that one, I kind of like the newer one, the one that has the Russell Crowe one, because at least Russell Crowe attempts more to be of that. Plus some of the other characters, Cate Blanchett and, like, some of the other actors in it, great. But yeah, the Nottingham was amazing.
I always remember the story that Kevin Smith tells about Muse and Alan Rickman.
God.
That, like, when they went to do Dogma, we sat down Muse and he's like, listen, man, you really got to bring your A game on this shit, because, like, it's not just our buddies like it usually is when we make movies. We have real actors in here. And he's like, it's Hans fucking Gruber, man. Like, this is a Shakespearean actor, classically trained. He's like, you really got to get your shit down. And then like they get to the point where they're filming and they start filming the first day, and Muse knows everyone's lines. He doesn't just know his lines, he knows everyone's lines. Yeah. And Kev's like, man, you're really on the fucking ball, man. And he's like, what's going on with that? And he's like, I didn't want to piss off that Rickman guy.
That's right. Fucking Rickman.
Kevin posted, blog posting and stuff about it today, and like that, he instantly became friends with him, and he was like the best person to work with, and so, especially because it was an extremely difficult shoot because of somebody, Bethany, because Linda Fiorentino's a douchebag from every account that I've ever heard. This is why she didn't end up in Men in Black 2 and didn't end up in anything else. Like, she's a horrible person to work with.
That's cool. You can be a horrible person, but that's Alan motherfucking Rickman. Like, like you can try to be shitty, and then Alan Rickman just looks at you and like, bitch, shut up. I'm the fucking Metatron. Shut the fuck up.
There's just so much in that that's just one movie, but there's just so much in that. That he's just spot on in and so believable, and so like he's funny, and then there's the points where he has to be more like softer, and when I remember like the scene where Bethany breaks down and she can't take it, and like she's like, make it go away, why can't it be somebody else? And he's like, I remember getting this from somebody else, and he's talking about Christ, like, he's like, why does it have to be me, why can't you make it be somebody else, like I'm not, I can't handle it or whatever. And I'm like, Jesus, man, like that's some really heavy shit in that kind of a movie,
and like, you only could have had somebody like Rickman do it.
Is like, he's a guy who made Kevin's words actually come out so well. Like sometimes it's hard because Kevin is a very verbose writer, and it's all very dialogue heavy, and it takes really, really solid acting sometimes to pull off that stuff, and he really just understood. And
it'll definitely be.
I mean, when I was writing that, I was definitely squirted a few tears on that one. Like Bowie, not at first, but then like going back and listening, when you and I sitting here the other night listening to that acapella version of Under Pressure, it got me.
Well, it's because it's true. It's like one of those things where you don't realize how much Bowie was involved in your world.
What he meant to music in general. Like, there's no, whether you're a fan of his or not, you can't deny what he meant to music in general. And just the scope of the career, and to stay relevant for as long as he has, still relevant. And like, I watched the Lazarus video, which is his, basically like he knew he was dying.
Not Dave was telling me that like that whole album is like a goodbye.
It was, it was like he knew he didn't have long to go, and
like that video was probably the only one he was going to get to make, and it was just very much like
the video is haunting, and these songs amazing. Like the song's a beautiful song, and he still had an amazing voice, and considering the fact that he was dying, of terrible cancer, and it's just. Wow.
That's the other thing too, is like it's crazy because like all the big ones have been cancer. Like Bowie and Rickman were both 69.
And Lemmy was like 70-ish.
It was like
cancer for all three of them. It's all these years that the cancer has been a thing that we've known about in medical science and all the discoveries, and we still cannot fucking beat it.
It's one of those.
We've come a long way. There's so much that they could do now for different types of cancer and shit, but just sometimes it's just like you just can't fucking do it. And then Jake Lloyd, that one didn't like personally affect me or anything, but it is very sad because of how young he was.
And like so far they don't know what it is, but the cops basically are pretty sure, like from what all they found, that they don't believe it had anything to do with alcohol or drugs. So, which
is a good thing.
But it is one of those like what could it have been? Because they found him in his bed, like I
mean, I know the drugs were a part of his life for a long time. It could be an after effect of that. I mean, that's kind of what happened to Corey Haim too. It's like he got out of drugs, but it was just too late.
Tears your system up to the point that you're susceptible to anything.
It's just another example of kind of what the child star thing does to people, especially. And he was an extreme example of it too, because I hate to speak ill of him because he's gone now, but he was just so bad. And it was such an epically large movie.
And that's the thing, like he had other stuff, like he had done what is it says here, he was in a bunch of episodes. He played Jimmy Sweet in like 4 episodes of ER and other various roles, but it was only 3 years before he was chosen to play, Anakin. And I'm like, man.
So much pressure on a kid that young.
Yeah.
And
so much experience that you need.
It didn't help the fact that there were all these other child actors at that time that were very prominent and very good actors.
Yeah.
Like Elijah Wood and Macaulay Culkin and fucking the Sixth Sense kid and shit. Like, it wasn't too far removed from that stuff. Yeah. Like, he's right around that same, range of Haley Joel Osment, and to, like, see The Phantom Menace, which I think was, like, 96?
Yeah.
96 or 97.
Yeah.
And then, like, Sixth Sense, I think, is 98, 99. And, like, okay, God. Like, the difference in performance. And, like, and he just, it destroyed it. It literally destroyed him. The internet and bitchy Star Wars fans and shit, like, destroyed his psyche. Like, you can't do that you can't put a kid in that position, and then, like, he just got eviscerated, and there was no support, I guess, for him. And then
there's other like really sad stories, like the guy who did the tragic story of the guy who did Jar Jar Binks. Like, his story was really rough. It can, and that's the thing, man. It's like, and you even see it on in Star Trek. Like, the new Star Trek, when it came out, man, a lot of those people got, like, hate for it. And, it's definitely, it can do a lot to you.
It is the side effect of the culture that we have, the pop culture.
That very fervent fan base.
Yeah.
That's, like,
especially, like, Star Wars is a very rabid fan base, and it was just such a terrible experience and movie and stuff in general. And he got a huge amount of the hate about it. And, I mean, in one respect, it's like, no, it was undeserved because he was a child. But, like, performance, you can't deny that performance was pretty awful. But, again, he was, like, 10, But, I blame George Lucas for that. It's just poor casting. It wasn't, you put a lot of pressure on a 10-year-old to basically be carrying a Star Wars movie, to some extent, and be that important of a character. You're like, okay, you're going to be fucking Darth Vader as a child.
And you're going to play against Liam Neeson and Ewan McGregor.
Ewan McGregor and Liam Neeson and all these other, and Ian McDiarmid and all these other insane actors. Yeah. And you're like, fuck me. Like, no one who's played Anakin has gotten, anything out of that. Like, Hayden Christensen basically was like, it was the biggest mistake of my career.
Yeah.
And like, it basically ruined my career in the respect that, like, it was so bad that it pissed all over my career. And, to some respect, he's right, because I've seen him in other things, and, he's not horrible. Yeah, depending on what it is. He basically has one emotion, and it's whiny bitchdom, but,
I've seen him in some crazy stuff, and it is just definitely one of those, like, man, it just, some people can handle it, some people can't, and, like, man, super fervent fan bases can just tear you apart.
Yeah.
It's craziness.
But, I'm hoping that this last one we have to deal with for at least a little while. It's give me some fucking recovery time. Unless it's Donald Trump, I would totally take that.
Yeah. Which people are like, come on, he's 69, why not him?
Come on.
And then I told you about my friend freaked out because he saw an article where it said this woman had, like, American woman had died over in a foreign country, and her name was Ashley Olsen, and he, like, immediately, a lot of people actually thought it was, like, the Olsen twin, and then it turned out to be a different one.
Yeah.
And it was like, good God, they're just dropping like flies now. Like, just this week, 7 of them are all going to die. Like, it's craziness.
Speaking of horrible things that are painful, let's talk about Raw and Impact. We kind of did like a half-ass experiment this week, and I failed miserably at this experiment because I can't stay awake for Raw at this point. But I got the gist of it. Impact had just, of course, for you guys that don't know, Impact had just moved to a new station, Pop TV, which is a very kind of nowhere station. But they didn't, as far as ratings, it wasn't too horrible. No. They kind of maintained what they've been doing, which is not great, but it's better than nothing. But they premiered on Pop TV this week, and I thought, like, we've been watching Raw so much, and I've been not giving any fucks about it, that perhaps we'd, give Impact a shot and see if it was any better. Like, if it was the test of the fast forward, basically. Like, how long could we be watching Impact before we fast forward? And, of course, first of all, Impact is a 2-hour show and Raw is a 3-hour show. And to be fair, I haven't watched Impact in months. Probably barely ever watched it.
I used to watch it, but now I haven't. Like, I haven't watched it in a long time. So
it's gonna be fresher because of that. But it was so much easier to watch.
Yeah.
Like, it was a pretty good show. Like, wrestling-wise, it was actually a pretty great show.
Yeah, wrestling-wise, it was great. Their storylines, well, I mean, TNA's always kind of struggled with, like, solid storylines. Yeah. Sometimes they get some good stuff, sometimes they don't. It really kind of just depends on what story they go with and what wrestlers they choose to use those stories on. Mm-hmm. The Aces and Eights thing was great because, that was Bubba the Devon. And what we saw on that TNA was actually pretty good because of the people they chose to use.
Yeah, it was the end of their world title tournament. Mm-hmm. And it was Lashley and EC3 in the qualifier. And what was it? Matt Hardy and...
Eric Young.
Eric Young, yeah. As the other qualifier. And both really solid matches. Matt Hardy's very over... into the TNA crowd for sure, and he should be because he's really even at his broken down sort of state, he's still can go.
Yeah, he can still move. And then man, Lashley's still a beast. You've got what is his name now? It was I
always call him Blaster Lashley because that's what they used to call him in OVW. Yeah. But they call him something else.
Well, no, it's Is Titus or Ty?
Oh, Tyrus, yeah.
Tyrus.
The former Brodus Clay.
Yeah.
But what they did with Brodus Clay is instead of making him a dancing, gibbering fucking moron, they actually made him a fucking badass.
Yeah.
Like, they made him a big fucking scary badass.
Yeah. He came out and, like, he had bulked up. He had put on some muscle.
He dropped some weight and put on some muscle.
More tattoos, grew the beard out, was very much, like...
He looked fucking scary.
Reminiscent of, like, Diesel when Michaels had Diesel on his thing. He had that big guy that was just going to smash your brains in. Like, you were like, dear God, he would obliterate me.
Yeah.
And Eric Young is now, instead of playing this weird role that he was before, now he's playing, like, a straight-up, like, Brian Pillman heel.
Yes.
And he's doing an amazing job of it.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
Matt's over... and Jeff's, playing second string to it, which is actually really nice, and, helping him out, but not doing anything. Lashley is still a beast.
Yeah.
Like, good God, he's still a beast. And, like, EC3 is actually...
That guy, that's one of the... I would say that one of the biggest mistakes that the WWE made was letting him go. He was in NXT as Patrick Bateman, and they were like, oh, he's vanilla, and, like, he can't talk and all this shit. I'm like, if you think that guy can't talk, you're a fucking mental case.
Well, look what they've been having on the mic, though.
Yeah.
Like, they're, and then they had, Drew Galloway.
Yeah, Drew Galloway, who, again, another guy that was a huge mistake to... Yeah. And a guy that, like, they... tried with to some extent, but never quite enough, and never quite right.
No, because they would never let him past Heath.
Yeah.
Because, like, Heath was, a big deal because he was, Nexus. Mm-hmm. And, like, all those guys got huge pushes.
Remember when they first brought in Drew Galloway on when the brand split was still kind of going, and, like, Vince brought him in with, like, fanfare and shit and was like, this guy's going to be the next, WWE champion. And that was kind of the worst thing you could have done.
Yeah, especially with, like, I think it's worse with WWE fans. Like, you could do that back in WCW. You could do it in, like, TNA. You could do it with all these other promotions. But, man, WWE fans do not like being told who the next champion's going to be. They're like, we're going to tell you. We're going to say we like this person. Whether it be Daniel Bryan, Cesaro, guys like that. Like, you're not going to come in and tell us, like, this is who we're picking. And you're like, no.
Yeah, they didn't let him, like, be himself at all, really.
No. They'll pump fucking lines down your throat.
Yeah, but he's a big guy. He's intimidating. He's got a presence. He's a really good worker. Yeah, he's a Scot. Like, he's Scottish, yeah.
No.
Like, Sheamus, Wade Barrett, all those guys came up together in Europe.
Yeah.
And, those guys will still tell you now, like, there's no reason he shouldn't be here and be as popular as we are.
Yeah.
Or especially, like, Sheamus is a big proponent of his. And, like, it sucks that, that was the case. Yeah. But, yeah, they've the TNA has kind of done a thing where they've taken guys that like in a way cast-offs. But
they did it with Christian.
They did it with, they've done this. They've actually done this successfully with quite a few guys that like were not used to their potential, and who were thought of as not, not
ideal
up to,
body types.
not ideal body types or not up to par. And they've really kind of just took those guys and made them something. And I would say, no disrespect to anything that Kurt Angle accomplished in WWE, because he was amazing there too. But he's been with TNA much longer.
And I think he's had better storylines, better
matches,
just
some amazing matches and some amazing feuds and stuff. And just the time with just the stuff with Samoa Joe alone, and AJ and all that stuff.
I think they're better at like capitalize. I think if they could just get better story people, they would, and just have Dixie is a huge kind of like roadblock for them. Like, I hate to say it, but she is her own worst enemy. But like, they're really good about taking guys as they are, like, seeing the potential and letting it go where it needs to go, not seeing potential and then like, basically like, okay, bulk up, because like, man, Vince is horrible for this. He's destroyed a lot of careers by basically telling people they need to bulk up. Edge, Rey
Mysterio is a perfect example of that. And he tried that shit with a lot of other guys, and some guys are like, and Christian was one of those guys, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm not doing that.
Yeah,
I am. This is my size. I'm not gonna fucking
Kennedy
pump a bunch of fucking roids down to get bigger. No, fuck you. Take your HGH and shove it up your ass and your giant veins that you could drive a truck through. Like fucking, I'm not gonna be that guy.
Yeah,
and that's why fucking like Vince was like, well, you're never being more than a mid carder, and then Christian was like, all right, well then fuck you, I'm out. And then he went to TNA and became, NWA World Heavyweight Champion multiple times.
Yeah.
And built a real respectful career for himself there, to the point where
huge following.
They were like, shit, we need to bring this guy back because he's actually good. Like, he's actually better than we thought, And
then what did they do? They brought him back and shit all over him.
They shit him all over
because
him,
that's
and
what Vince
gave
does.
him that paltry ass world title run, there for as basically like a lifetime achievement award world title. And then, injuries forced him into retirement.
Yeah.
But
and they only got those injuries at WWE. Like, that's the thing. Like, the way their schedule, the way they make people wrestle, like, all of it is completely designed to destroy a wrestler. He uses them up as much as he can, and then
Vince, like, he sees a guy and he just instantly says, okay, this guy is this kind of guy, and he will never go any further than this.
Yeah.
That is his thing that he does. And there's been a few guys here and there that have broke the mold, like Edge was one of those guys. But, like, Bubba Dudley is a great example of that. Like, in WWE, Vince is like, you're a tag team specialist, and, like, you'll never go any further than that. And they leave, and they go, to TNA, and he spends a lot of time there still being a tag team guy. But then there was this point where he was like, no, I don't want to be that guy anymore.
Yeah. Devon was wanting to slow down.
He was like, I think that I have potential to go further, and so he did. He dropped a bunch of weight. He bulked up like naturally.
Yeah.
Like he toned up. What's the best way to say that? Toned up. He used the fact that he's an insanely good promo to make himself intimidating, to make himself mean something more than just being part of, the Dudleys and shit. And, like, then they did the Aces and Eights thing and gave him that group that he was, the leader of, and then put him in that major storyline with Brooke Hogan and Hulk and all that shit when they were there. And they made him a legit main eventer.
Mm-hmm. And then he had amazing matches.
Sustained being a legit main eventer.
Yeah.
And, like, looked great and was a believable world champion.
Yeah.
And then you bring him back, and then just shit right over, and let's let the New Day fucking fuck you in the ass on national television.
Over and over. And then, like, Wyatt's a New Day just get to bend you over.
Yeah, just ream you.
Wreck your legacy. Mm-hmm. Like, they let them shit all over their legacy. Like, and that's the sad thing. And why is because WWE can pay more than, the other promotions, but it comes at a cost. They're going to pay you more, but you're going to basically have to do whatever they say. And it's like, it sucks because there are a lot of good wrestlers and, what can you do?
I'm looking to see how many matches were on that. 4, 5. Yeah, there are 5 matches in a 2-hour show.
Yeah.
I fast-forwarded one time.
Which one was that?
It was the Bobby Roode versus Bram for the King of the Mountain Championship.
And that was not because it was a bad match.
No.
It was because it's the Bram guy.
It was annoying me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't care. Like, that guy is interesting. He has an interesting story, too. He's actually Charlotte's ex-husband.
Mm-hmm. He was having not a good night.
Not a good night. And it was only literally for about a minute, because then the match was very quick. And then it became a story because James Storm came back, who actually James Storm had been in NXT and had done, like, he hadn't signed, but he'd been doing dates in NXT, and, like, he was very, very over. And then he was like, no, I'm going to go back. Like, I understand, like, yeah, there's more money there, but again, he's a guy that they're only ever going to let go so far. He's never going to be he would never be a main eventer, because of Vince's policies and shit.
Hell, you'd be surprised if they let him out of NXT.
Yeah, but then he could go back to TNA and be important, and he's a guy who's been in TNA literally since day one.
He's like the Sting,
Yeah, he is their guy. Like, him and Bobby Roode and Eric Young, those are guys who've been there since day one. And then they reunited their tag team of Beer Money, which is one of the most popular tag teams in the history of the promotion.
Yeah.
And people were very super into that. So it was, a quick little match that didn't mean anything, and it led to the good storyline, which was cool. I did have to laugh about Bram, because when he came out, it was like Rude was doing an open challenge for his title. And Bram came out and said that 2006 was going to be his year like 3 times. And I was like, 2006
he's just... I know it happens. It's just one of those things. It was
just a great little Freudian slip.
And the fans won't let you forget it for the night.
They were laughing their asses off at him.
But you know what? Other than like the storylines, some of them being like, okay. I enjoyed watching it. They brought back the 6-sided ring. It was
so much better.
And then I watched Raw. And I fast forward through them.
Actually, I want to mention before we go to Raw the 6-woman tag match, because this is a thing that happens constantly on Raw, and the difference between the two is amazing. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, all the people that were in this match were not great workers.
No,
a few, Gail Kim, 1 or 2 others,
Rain.
Yeah, Madison Rain's a great worker. Gail Kim's a great worker. Awesome Kong was before she got hurt.
Yeah.
There's a couple of they have the Dollhouse, which is kind of like their Mean Girls thing or whatever, and the Beautiful People, which is the former Mean Girls that are now like the baby faces and shit. But like the 3 chicks in the Dollhouse were completely competent. Competent enough to go through the match. Gail Kim was excellent. Only 2 of the Beautiful People could actually wrestle because Angelina's pregnant.
Yeah.
But Gail Kim was their, 3rd person, and she's, of course, still amazing.
Yeah.
And then it ended with a really interesting story thing with Awesome Kong actually joining up with the Dollhouse, which she replaces Taryn Terrell, who took time off because she's just got married and is wanting to have a baby and stuff, too. And she's actually Drew Galloway's ex-wife. Yeah, they used to be, when they were in WWE, they were married because she was Tiffany in WWE. Yeah. And they had horrible, breakup while they were there, and she got fired because of her shenanigans, and it kind of pissed on his career. That's how he ended up getting in that one-man band shit, 3-man band or whatever with fucking Heath Slater, because he was in the Doghouse because of her bullshit.
Yeah.
So,
because Vince is very...
Oh, he will punish you for your fucking significant other's chicanery.
Yeah.
He's done it many, many times. That's how Lashley ended up leaving.
Yeah.
Because he married Crystal Marshall, and they hated her, and it ended up he ended up asking for his release because they were fucking pissy with her and shit. So, yeah, they're very vindictive. But yeah, the difference between is I did not have the urge to fast forward one fucking time during that Dollhouse Beautiful People match. It was a good, solid, 6-man tag. Everybody did what they should be doing. The spots all looked good. It wasn't ridiculously sloppy. It wasn't like a ratio of one person in the match is good, 5 people suck.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the same goddamn moves I've seen 1,000 times from the same stupid tag team of the same 3 chicks that I don't give a fuck about and I couldn't possibly give a fuck about. And then we get to Raw, and Raw was just it's Raw. Mm-hmm. I felt the urge to fast forward immediately. Yeah. I could not give a solitary fuck.
I don't know. The thing that really kind of upset me about Raw was it was a clickbait. The finale match was a fucking clickbait match, hard. what is it? So the night started off with basically, a bunch of the guys standing out, out.
Yeah, they had like all the guys on the ramp, and they're talking about the Royal Rumble match and shit. I'm like, oh, this guy could be champion, and that guy could be champion, and blah 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 blah. And then Roman Reigns came out, and I don't care. Like, nothing against Roman, he's doing so much better than he was. But like,
it's just this storyline they have going. It's
every week it's the same thing. It's every week there's a boring 20-minute promo at the beginning of the show, and like every week it's the same fucking thing. And Stephanie looking hot, and Vince having his giant veins of doom and shit. And like, I don't give a fuck. Like, it's so tired. It's all so fucking tired. Yeah. I don't know.
Brock was there.
There was some good stuff with Stephanie and Paul Heyman. And Paul Heyman, like, anytime Paul Heyman's on screen, I'm okay.
Because he's
not fucking boring. Yeah. They announced Sting for the Hall of Fame. That's great. It's great, like, in the way that, like, as a career in pro wrestling in general, he belongs in the Hall of Fame. But if you were just going on what he's done since he's been in the company, God, no.
Yeah, no.
But of course, since they own the WCW stuff and all that, it doesn't matter. Yeah. And they consider it a full career. But like, it is ridiculous to see like all he's accomplished in his career in wrestling, and then they show the stuff that he's done since he's been there, and you're like, God, boy, were they really just bungled the fuck out of that, to a ridiculous level.
It was horrible.
And it's just like, I'll admit, I fast-forwarded through a bunch of that fucking opening promo because I just couldn't give a shit. They were talking and fucking talking, and then the Wyatts were out there for some inexplicable reason.
There was the Intercontinental Champion Dean Ambrose had to take on Sheamus.
It was a decent enough match. I can't give a fuck about Sheamus. I will say that he took his dookie braids out, except for like right in the front.
He braided the whole thing into like two, which looks better.
Looks so much better.
A lot better. And Dean's amazing. Dean can,
Dean, I love Dean. Dean is one of the saving graces of Raw right now.
Yeah.
He is that like Pillman kind of, crazy and shit, and I enjoy the fuck out of that.
And then the whole thing with him and Kevin Owens.
Yeah, well, it was a 15-minute match, and it ended in a fuck finish, which I'm annoyed by. I think like fuck finishes match should be shorter than that.
Well, it was basically,
but it made sense.
It was Vince punishing Dean for being Roman's friend and letting Sheamus beat the shit out of him.
And I give Kevin Owens credit, like I said before. Since this storyline started, he's been so much more watchable.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That was what it was. And then all kinds of fucking backstage shit. And we had Titus and Stardust in a quick little match. It was a real...
Stardust had his Ziggy Stardust.
Yeah, that was really cool. Yeah, there was Titus won with the Clash of the Titus, and it was good. It was a good match, cool. But I didn't care because it's the same fucking match we saw last week. Literally exactly the same match.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't understand what this is. Like this whole, if you have one match, then you need to again have another one the following week, the exact same one. I'm like, the match is over. Like, okay.
Then Chris Jericho came out.
Yeah.
For the highlight reel. I have to explain what Chris Jericho was wearing. No, I have to. He had skinny jeans on. Really skinny jeans.
He does wear.
Yes. No shirt. A sport jacket. And a scarf.
Yeah.
Now, Chris Jericho, for a guy who's 40 years old, is in good shape.
Yeah.
But when you wear skinny jeans and you have kind of a pudge, he was rocking a ridiculous muffin top on these fucking pants. Yeah. He looked absolutely comically ridiculous. I could not stop laughing at how he looked. And his hair, of course, was the level of ridiculous that it normally is. He came out and did the highlight reel segment. It was him cutting a long-ass promo, and then the New Day coming out to interrupt it, even though they were actually supposed to be the guests on the show.
Yeah.
And then Smack Talkering was happening, and then the Usos came out with their slammies, and they were talking smack and all that. And it ended up being a tag team match with the Usos against Big E and Kofi, and like Xavier was in the corner of the New Day, and then Chris Jericho was in the corner of the Usos. And it was a good match, but I've seen it a million times.
I like this match simply because it was nice to see somebody who was going to equalize Xavier Woods out.
Yeah, that was fun. He
was
broke
good.
Xavier's trombone.
Oh, yeah.
That was hilarious.
Like, first he was, like, using it against him. Like, that's the thing. Jericho will do the shenanigans that Xavier will and play his game better at it. And it was interesting to see. And you saw what happened. When you eliminate Xavier Woods from it, the Usos won. Like, they beat New Day. And, like, Jericho didn't have to get in the match at all.
No.
And it was one of those things where it shows you, okay, you are showing the audience that purely the only way these guys are staying tag team champions is because they are cheating their asses off. Yeah. And it's like, this can only go on for so much longer. And I know they're going to try and stretch it to WrestleMania. And it's like, ugh, these guys need to lose their titles like Royal Rumble. Because...
Well, I think that they're going to be going one-on-one with the Usos at the Rumble, and hopefully they'll take the belts off of them. Yeah. That'll be good. And then they did the Sting video package, which was awesome. Really cool to see that. The Wyatts were doing a promo, but the new worst stable in history, the Social Outcasts, came out.
This is so awkward. Like, this is literally...
Heath Slater said, grab your penicillin because we're going viral.
Yeah. Oh, my God. The things that were said... Man, Jericho said something, though, that we were like... When we heard him say it, we were like, did he just say, my back of the bus brothers?
Yeah,
like,
he called the Usos his back of the bus brothers, and I don't know what he was intending that to mean. I think he was talking about, like, tour bus or something, but it sounded very racist.
It kind of did. So, there was just a lot... There was a lot of, like, really bad promos... like just phrases being said. Like, it was just a horrible night for that. And my God, the Wyatt family, the Social Outcast thing was retarded. It just needs to stop. Like, both of it needs to stop.
The match went a minute and 19 seconds because Ryback came out and attacked Bray Wyatt and shit. And so, who gives a fuck, right?
Yeah.
And so apparently the Outcasts, because I had fallen asleep at this point, apparently the Outcasts help Ryback, so I guess they're comedy baby faces now.
Yeah.
And then this was actually, I would say, the highlight of the night.
Yeah, it was. I watched the whole match. It was...
Kalisto beat Alberto Del Rio to become the U.S. champion, which is fucking awesome.
And
you can talk about this because I didn't see it.
It was one of those, it was an amazing match. Kalisto in all of his lucha glory, Alberto Del Rio being an amazing, wrestler, able to work with lucha and do lucha with those guys, did an amazing match, sold all kinds of moves. There was back and forth, who was going to win, who wasn't going to win, a lot of close pins. And the finish was interesting because it was one of those big move, try to pin, doesn't get it, big move happens, try to pin, doesn't get it. Then the roll up.
Yeah, I guess he reversed a German suplex. He did. To a victory roll, yeah.
Yeah, and it was one of those we all thought it was going to be, he was going to finish with the move, the Selena del Sol.
Yeah.
And, no, it was one of those, and wins. And I mean, they both sold it amazingly. Kalisto was losing his mind. Alberto Del Rio was losing his in the not good kind of way. Like, it was great. This was probably the best match of the night.
Yeah, this got spoiled because, like, someone had posted... I was trending on Facebook, and I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But then we were kind of, like, before we watched it, we were kind of like, what the hell? And I assumed that what this stems from is the fact that Sin Cara just got hurt, but Kalisto is very over, and then Cena is out for 6 to 9 months with a shoulder problem. He just had to have surgery, and he was about to go back into a feud with Del Rio.
Yeah.
And so they had nothing for Del Rio and nothing for Kalisto. And Del Rio, I assume they'll probably want to bump up to the main tier.
Yeah, the main tier.
And then putting the U.S. belt on Kalisto is a really big thing. Like,
because you look at it, like, this is great for Kalisto. He's over. He has the title. Again, that just puts more heat, more awesomeness on that title. And that gives him something because, to show, like, hey, you've done an amazing job. You get this title. But Alberto Del Rio, in terms of this is like, for me, I don't feel like this is a step back for Alberto. This is his, okay, we're moving you up now.
Yeah.
Because in terms of, like, bad guys, like competent bad guys, Wade is out. He hurt himself. You're not ever going to get
Rusev to the level he was.
Yeah. I'm sorry. That guy's neutered and it's never coming back.
Yeah, I hate that too.
He's still a beast, but he just doesn't have that anymore. It's gone. Sheamus, no. I cannot.
He's totally unbelievable.
He's totally unbelievable as that bad guy anymore. Like when he first came in, he was a monster. He decimated. Now the crowd literally laughs at him.
Yeah.
Even changing his braids back to something remotely normal looking, he still, gets the "you look dumb."
He's seen as a joke, but Alberto has credibility.
Yeah, Alberto has like a mass amount of heat. He's in better shape. He's doing the Lucha Underground and the like independent circuit. He picked up a lot more stuff. He refined a lot of what he was doing. And it looks amazing. What else is important
is he's consistently won since he came back.
Yes. This is like the first time he's lost.
Came back, won the belt, consistently won since he came back. Like, almost every match.
And that's the other thing. Sheamus has had to rely on the League of Nations to save his ass multiple times, whereas Alberto has basically decimated everyone on his own.
Yeah, and I think this is the problem with, like, a big heel versus a small heel. When you're a small heel champion, that works.
Yeah.
When you're a big bruiser heel champion, this does not work.
Yeah.
Like, it makes you look like a pussy.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. Like, the people think you look retarded. A bad choice of words, but they think you look like a fucking moron.
Yeah.
With your dookie braids and shit. They're already making fun of you and saying you look stupid. And then you go out there and prove that you're a pussy.
Yeah.
No one's going to fucking take you seriously.
Yeah. Like, to me, the bro kick is not scary. The bro kick has only been proven scary when Rusev and Alberto Del Rio are holding you down.
Yeah, no shit.
Like, I'm sorry. If you look at the finishing moves now, as far as what they are, I would be way more afraid of Alberto Del Rio's, like...
I'd be terrified to take that fucking finisher.
Well, not even that one, but the one where he jumps up on your back and puts the knees
the backcracker,
into it. The backcracker one. That one's decimating. It took out Cena. Like, it's one of those, it can be hit at any moment. Mm-hmm. There's so much setup to the bro kick. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just too much. It's all show, and to me, really, it is not that devastating. It is the Hulk Hogan leg drop of the
Sheamus is like a one note joke when it comes to that shit. He's like, he's got the bro kick and he's really got nothing else. Like, he's got that Irish Curse backbreaker, but that's never a finisher.
No.
And he's got fucking the cloverleaf and shit, but he never uses that as a finisher really either. And so you're down to that. But then Alberto, he can finish you with the backcracker, which he's done. He can finish you with the cross arm breaker, which he's also done multiple times. And he's got that fucking, that horrifying
chest
stomp off the corner rope and shit.
Mm-hmm.
He's got every angle covered.
And that's the thing. Alberto is scary because he's a technical wrestler. He can out-wrestle you. Yeah. Sheamus is not ever going to out-wrestle you.
God, no.
Like, if so, you have no wrestling capabilities. Yeah. I'm sorry. And that's the problem, is like Sheamus is still trying to outpower people, and he's nowhere near the size he was. Yeah. So it's not believable.
Then they had the Charlotte and Flair doing interview thing, and then Charlotte was supposed to wrestle Brie Bella, but I guess Becky Lynch came in and...
I watched this. This was interesting. I like where they're going with this. So they're really going to the full-on, like, heel turn with her, and they're playing up, like, they're asking her questions like, oh, you turned on Becky, you did all this stuff, and she's like, no, like, I'm the victim in this. Like, she's playing she is flaring it up hard. Yeah. And this is good. This is working because she actually really does do a good job of, like, you immediately want to hate her. Mm-hmm. Like, she really does a good job of that. So she comes out and she goes to do the match with Brie Bella, and I'm sorry, I'm like,
yeah, no fucks.
No fucks. It's Foxy and Brie, and it's just like, you are what you are. And she just, like, out of nowhere, Becky Lynch, like, she's, Charlotte's doing her little intro thing and stuff, and the moment she's, like, on the mat in the ring, Becky Lynch is in there, and I mean, it's not even like we're wrestling. Becky Lynch is on top of her, beating the shit out of her the entire time. Okay. It's like, you pissed off an aggressive Irish fighter, and this is what happens. You're getting the crap kicked out of you. And it was. She rolled around and beat her that across that entire like mat, and it was great. They had to like pull Becky Lynch off of her, and then Flair gets on the mic and was all like, "Oh, well, my daughter's not wrestling," and does the whole spiel, and they basically walk out from the match and everything. And then they go and they interview Becky Lynch, and I mean, she is furious. Like, basically she's like, I've had enough. She was like, "You want to talk shit about me? You want to do all this shit?" And she's like, "Fine. It's put up or shut up time. Like, I'm coming for your title." And everybody wants to be like, "Oh," she wants to talk all this shit. She's like, I made you tap. Like, I'll take your arm. Like, I'm going to break you. And that's what it was. It was one of those, like, she's angry, but she's also sad because she was like, we made an agreement that our friendship would never suffer for the business, and you, first chance you got, did it. And so she's like, all right, now it's gonna happen. Yeah. And
then they did the idiotic Roman Reigns versus everybody match.
This match pissed me off. This was a clickbait match of epic proportions.
Stupid fucking match.
It was, they bring out like 10 guys. They bring out
Owens, Del Rio, Sheamus, Kofi Kingston, Big E, Xavier Woods, Connor and Victor, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
The Ascension, Stardust, Bray Wyatt, Eric Rowan, Braun Strowman, Luke Harper, Tyler Breeze.
Yeah, all the heels.
Huh?
Yeah, they brought out all the heels that have had any kind of storylines lately. And they all are in the ring, and it's like, Roman comes out, and it's one of those things where it's all versus one, right? What do you think is going to happen? In the Rumble, he has to face all of these guys.
Right.
You think it's going to be that match. No, it's not. It's one of those, basically, he says, we're going to do this fair and square. So
it's like a tag team match.
No, it's like, right? He basically has to beat them all. That he has to wrestle each individual one of them.
Also like a gauntlet match.
Yeah, but the whole match is just him and Kevin Owens. Like, that's all it is. And then, it was back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then eventually it turns into, like, he's winning, and they just sick him all in there, to go kick the shit out of him. And then you hear it. You hear the noise, and it's Brock Lesnar's music. And he comes out, and everybody's all like, yeah, Brock Lesnar, woo! The New Day's all like, yeah, we're going to get him and stuff like that. Set up perfectly. And then just Brock Lesnar just decimates everyone in the ring. Yeah. Like, double clotheslines the New Day. Because, like, by now, they have beaten the shit out of Roman. Like, he is, like, can't stand, beat the shit out of him. He decimates everyone in the ring until they're gone, and then picks up Roman, F5s him, dips the fuck out, and shit like that.
Yeah.
And it was horrible because it should have just been Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns.
Yeah, like, what was the point of bringing all those motherfuckers out?
Yeah, it could have been a lumberjack match. Because the all versus one was, they all had to stand in one corner.
Yeah.
They couldn't even, like, get on the mat and stuff. Like, the most was, like, the Ascension guys got up there, and then, this was cool. Roman does a double Superman punch, hits one and goes across, and hits them both, and just...
Three Stooges style.
Yeah, just like, takes out out. But it was one of those stupid things where it's like, oh my god, you said it was going to be like this, and then what we get is something completely else, and it was shit. I just couldn't want to give a fuck.
Nah, me either.
Yeah.
Obviously, because I fell asleep about halfway through.
Yeah, it's just one of the... What they need to be doing, they're not doing enough of.
No.
What they need to stop doing, they're doing way too much and just smearing it, like, thick on. And it's, like, horrible.
I'm going to say, like, by no means is TNA perfect or anything. Like, obviously, God.
Yeah, no.
And they didn't have the greatest show in the history of man or anything like that. But here's the difference for me. It was, like, I started feeling sleepy watching Raw, and I didn't care. I just went to sleep. I started feeling sleepy towards the end of Impact, and I forced myself to stay awake because I wanted to see how shit ended. I wanted to see if Matt Hardy was going to win the belt, which he didn't, unfortunately. But it was a damn good match.
And it makes sense.
And it made sense, yes.
To put
EC3, to be the champion, it made sense and shit. So that's the difference. Like, I forced myself to stay awake to see what happened on Impact. I couldn't care enough to stay awake through half of Raw.
Yeah.
So, will we watch any Impact in the future? Yeah, probably. I don't know.
I want to see where some of those storylines
I want to see where it goes, yeah. I wanted to give a quick update. Last week we had Rob Bukite on from the Project Resurgence in Nectar Game Studios about their Kickstarter, and they've had a nice bump. I guess that one of the backers was a $10,000 backer this week. I read that Rob posted about it.
Wow.
Yeah, and so they've got right now they're sitting at 85,400, which is about a little over half. That's probably about like 51% or so, and they've got 26 days to go, and they've already got 1,200 backers.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that it continues in the trend. So it's been doing very, very well.
Yeah,
and
it does seem like a game that people really want to play. Like, this is
so we're very solidly behind that.
Yeah.
For sure. Now, I want to give folks a little update on Sexapalooza. I'm not going to give like the huge thing right now, but I did hear from the Sexapalooza folks, and we are going to be going, some form of us at least.
Yeah, in some shape or form.
We don't know exactly because Dave's got work issues and stuff like that, but if we can possibly swing it, we're going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But I know the Basement Babe is going to go too, for sure. So at least it would be me and her.
Yeah.
And there is a possibility that they will be giving us some promo codes that we can give to folks for free tickets. And so we're trying to I want to come up with a contest or like a game or something that people can, if you're interested in getting Sexapalooza tickets. Now, Sexapalooza is here in Columbus at the Lausch building on the fairgrounds.
The local,
yeah.
Or,
so,
like
if you're willing,
really hardcore,
hey man,
want to come to
if
the
you're fucking willing to, if you want to drive down for Sexapalooza and shit and like make a weekend out of it, that's awesome. We'll totally hang out. Like, you can go with us and we'll hang out. You can tour the Basement of Doom, whatever.
Rubber dicks for everyone.
Rubber dicks for everybody, and you can meet the Hulk's penis. The new penis. The new penis.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Have we talked about that?
They know that it. I don't know if we've talked about it really, but yeah.
Have we talked about the new penis?
No, I haven't talked about the new penis.
The new penis. We know what happened to the old penis.
The new penis is a sight to behold.
Yes.
It is a sight to behold.
For all that you have,
I sculpted it drunk for one thing.
For all of you that have seen the Hulk's penis, woo, nothing. That is nothing. The new penis. That's where it's at.
The new penis? My God.
The new penis.
I can see it staring at me from here. It's terrifying. So if you guys have any ideas for like a contest or some sort of thing that we can do, shoot them to me in a message or something like that. And we'll get it together and we'll get it done. Mm-hmm. And we'll Sexapalooza it up and just rubber dicks for the world.
Just rubber dicks.
Because I literally cannot wait for that.
Maybe some more burlesque. Some other stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. All kinds.
It's gonna be.
I wonder if they're gonna have the funny drag queen back as the MC guy.
One can only hope.
That guy was fucking hilarious. I love that guy.
So it's the weekend of February 14th, so the Valentine's Day weekend. So hey, if you were to win, you could bring your lady or gentleman friend with you, and there's your Valentine's date for the weekend.
Sex toys, shows, the sex museum.
You can drink in there. There's live porn,
live porn, all of the great stuff.
We won't be posting any burlesque videos this year because it fucked us in the ass last year, but
some assholes.
Because someone's an asshole and wanted to report videos for nudity, which no nudity was contained within.
Yeah.
And that's why this whole Todd Dave shit happened in the first place.
Shenanigans.
Because fucking our original account was Basement Fodder until like someone reported this fucking videos, and then Facebook discovered we existed and then got reamed and had to change our name and shit.
Yeah.
And apparently this is confusing to people, and I guess if you've never listened to the show, and still I don't think I understand how it's confusing, because in our profile picture is the logo for the show that says Todd and Dave, but yet when I go to cons, people will say, "This is Todd Dave." And I'm like, no, damn it. There's Todd and Dave. It's two people.
It's two separate.
It's apparently confusing.
Yeah. He's Todd. I'm Dave.
Yes. Todd's a fat guy with a green mask. Dave's a little guy with a white mask. They're two different people. Very different people.
Both bearded. I guess that's a confusing factor for you guys.
I guess.
All right.
So that takes care of that. And I know there was a little bit of news this week. I wanted to go ahead and get to the news before we.
There's a little casting news.
Wrap it up.
Apparently, we're gonna get Supergirl versus Supergirl. What is it?
Laura
Vandervoot, whatever it is. Supergirl from Smallville got cast on Supergirl. And she will be playing Indigo.
Indigo, yeah.
Which is kind of the female version of Brainiac and will be a recurring villain for...
should be interesting.
Should be interesting. Now, the other really interesting news, and this is also related to Supergirl, which is cool because it shows that Supergirl's getting a lot of attention. Remember, there was the talk about the crossover, because Berlanti is like the executive producer for everything DC on TV. Everything. And so is like Kreisberg and all of them. Well, previously there had been talks about what if Flash and Supergirl could cross over. And then there was like, oh, well, they're on different networks. Well, it's like, well, one network owns the other one. So I don't see where that's an issue. But the network president was the woman, I can't remember what her name was. I think it was like Nina or something. Was very like staunch when asked about it at last year's thing. Was very staunch about it not being happening in the foreseeable future.
Not even being a possibility.
Like, not even really like, no, we're just not wanting to head in that direction. Well, there's a new president now. I can't remember what the guy's name is. But there was talk. He was asked about it because I guess rumors had started circulating again. And his answer was very, very different, and it was very much of, I'm not really at liberty to talk about that, but what I can say is keep watching, And so apparently there's a lot of buzz, hopefully, that maybe we might be getting the crossover finally, the Flash Supergirl crossover, and then there's already been talk about potential storylines, and if so, how they could involve Manhunter and Arrow and like bringing them all into that Flareoverse. Which is interesting, and I know some people have been like, well, what about Superman and all that stuff, and if you've all been watching and paying attention, especially with the crossover with Flash and Arrow, Vandal Savage has already, if you watch the promo for DC's Legends of Tomorrow, he mentions them. Man of Steel and the Dark Knight, they are mentioned, so it is one of those. They are in this universe. It's just one of those. There hasn't been a lot of mingling, like
co-mingling.
Yeah, National City's talking about their superhero. Central City's all jazzed about their hero.
Right.
They're not really like, oh, but there's this other hero off in some other city.
Yeah.
It's just not being brought up right now because it's like a very new thing.
It can very easily be remedied.
Yeah. So this is some exciting stuff that could be happening.
They also mentioned the small news item that one of the characters that could be showing up in the Legends of Tomorrow is Jonah Hex.
Yes.
Which, not the horrible movie notwithstanding, is a really cool character.
Yes, he is.
And I would be very excited to see that,
doing that.
That would be awesome.
Oh, God, yeah. Other casting news in the movie, and there's a lot of talk that Amanda Heard is going to be cast as Mara, Aquaman's wife, and she would be showing up in the Justice League movie and then the Aquaman solo movie. And wow, she is a sexy lady. And it would be interesting to see her with red hair. I've always seen her with the blonde hair. Like, she was big for people were really all about her playing Supergirl.
Yeah.
So this could be interesting because Mara, especially in the late years here recently, has become a more predominant character ever since like the Brightest Day stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
She's a very powerhouse character, and it is actually Aquaman and Mara are some of DC's more powerful power couples. She has super strength, like Atlantean endurance, all that stuff, but she also has water control and manipulation powers. Her story, hers and Arthur's story, is really complicated and interesting. So this could be really good. You just have to see what kind of chemistry her and Momoa have on screen. But I mean, I've seen Momoa have chemistry with girls that I was like, as actresses, I really didn't think were that great, and he made them look good. So I think this could be really good.
So the Kate Blanchett thing too.
Oh yeah. Kate Blanchett is pretty much. It's been talked about. It kind of got like somebody accidentally probably said something they shouldn't have. Mark Ruffalo. But apparently it is being kind of talked about that Kate Blanchett might be the big baddie for Thor 3. That she could be the main villain. And there's been a lot of speculation as to, okay, if she is, who is she going to be? The top 3 choices, of course, is Enchantress, Hell, and then I can't remember what the other woman's name is. She's basically another sorceress type chick who has it in for like Odin and the other Asgardians. I tend to think either she should play Hell or this other sorceress chick. The story around the Enchantress doesn't lend itself well to Cate Blanchett playing her. Nothing against Cate Blanchett. I think she could play the shit out of any character. It's just...
She just doesn't physically look the part.
The part, and it's like, I don't know. Enchantress is a very certain type of character, and I think Cate Blanchett's too good of an actress to play that type of character. Enchantress is a very petty, very, like, he's gonna be my boyfriend type of bitch, and I don't want to see Cate Blanchett play that type of character. I want to see Cate Blanchett play, like, you know, a very scary bad guy, and I think Hell or this other sorceress chick could be that type of character.
Right, yeah, absolutely. And she's a fantastic actor, like you say, but yeah, Enchantress not right for that at all.
No.
But Hell, yeah, I can easily see that.
Oh, God, yeah.
I'd like to see them actually use Hell, because it's a really cool character and
very cool
interesting character, yeah.
Especially, too, considering what the title is. Now, I know the title is not necessarily... It's kind of like what's happening with the Civil War Captain America. Just because they're using that title doesn't necessarily mean they are using 100% of that comic storyline. Ragnarok isn't necessarily the Ragnarok from the comics, but it is going to have elements of it. So I think Hell would be an amazing choice, because she is a very, very imposing figure in a lot of Thor stories. So... could be some crazy stuff coming up. I don't know. I'm excited.
Oh, I'm always excited for that.
And then this next week, all the shows are back.
All the shows are back.
Flash, Arrow,
premiere of the new show,
yeah, Legends. So we get to see that, and I'm like, oh my god, it's gonna be
this
so
week,
good.
Face Off premiered when we watched that last night. It was awesome.
How'd you feel about that?
I feel like the wrong person won, but it was still like, I understand.
Yeah.
But I liked the more dinosaurish looking creature.
How do you feel about this season? From what you've seen so far, how do you feel about this season?
It didn't show me a lot.
Yeah.
But the first challenge was a team challenge, and so sometimes you don't get really like
you don't
the aspect of like who's going to be the right away the runner up or anything like that. But I saw some flashes of good stuff in there.
Yeah. I'm going to hold reservations, because I saw some really good things, but I saw a lot of really, like, not good stuff. And then in relation to that, I saw a lot of, like, the personalities and how that really in the partners, and how that kind of showcased skill. I saw some overbearing personalities. I saw some very weak personalities.
Right.
And I think a lot of that is going to translate into their kid, what I see on screen.
Yeah.
I feel like there's going to be a couple weeks where I'm like, this person needs to go home because they don't have the balls to do what needs to be done, and if they get bitched about it, they're going to come up with an excuse. I feel like they're going to be excuse people, and I don't know. There's some characters. There are definitely some characters.
Yeah, for sure.
But I haven't seen much from the characters to say whether or not they're a character with skill or if they're just characters. Like,
German guy.
Yeah, make an impression, because it might be your only minute of fame, because skill-wise, you may or may not. Now, the German guy did some inventive things.
He did. He's just very wacky.
He's very wacky. I always felt like every time he was talking, I needed to end with, like, and this is how we dance on the sprockets.
I was thinking he was reminding me of the guy from the Human Centipede.
Yeah, that too.
I know what it is. I have this thing about, like, German people, and as this sounds terrible, but they always kind of creep me out a little bit. Like... especially ones that like that sort of artsy ones, yeah.
They're into the weird shit.
Yeah, and their porn's weird. Yeah, they like
weird.
poo porn. That poo porn is a big thing there, man.
That's not, dude. That's not their only.
That's not the creepiest.
Yeah,
I'm just saying that's one that creeps me out.
Yeah, but it was interesting. Saw a lot of cool things. I guess I also noticed that Hetrick was not.
Yeah.
I think Hetrick has kind of like changed a little bit for me, having heard the interview that you did.
Yeah.
But also, even on the show, kind of seen a change in him necessarily. Like, I know he can still be a dick when he wants to be, because the show, kind of requires that. But, I've seen a little bit of a different side, and it's pretty cool. So I tend to be a little bit less, bitchy about him. But they seem to be... so far they haven't done what we fear they do, which is always, this is crap, but for some reason they get a magical whim up their ass and they're like, I love it. It's so unique, even though it has nothing to do with the challenge and it sucks dick. So, I mean, we'll still see what happens. I think it's going to be hard because we still have what's-her-face on the brain from last season, and man, she was beast mode from start to finish, so it was hard. She was an amazing worker, and she put out some amazing stuff, so I'm like very much like, you guys have shoes to fill, even though they're tiny little bad girl, like, she was there still, like, bad boy. You've got
dude check. It's like dude check. This is the weird thing about Face Off. I never get to remember anybody's names, so I just always give them a nickname based on their physical appearance or how they talk.
Creepy German guy,
Dumpy Hausfrau, like weird shit like that.
Nickelodeon mom. What was it? The one chick that I basically, if Chris Farley and
you called her something. Oh, you said like grown up Cindy Lou Who, which was my favorite.
Oh yeah, the grown up Cindy Lou Who. There was the one that looks like Lori Petty and Chris Farley had a love child.
Yes, God.
There's all kinds of them, crazy characters. The mousy little guy got sent home.
No, that guy creeped me out.
Yeah.
He had the weirdest, like, physical parameters I've seen.
His body.
His body was odd.
And he dressed like he was a 12-year-old boy. It's just like...
He was, like, really scrawny, but he had oddly wide shoulders and
like,
a weird
muscular
head. And, like, kind of muscular, but still extremely tiny. And he's just, like, a very odd... And, boy, he sucked.
And he deserved to go home.
Oh,
I'm sorry, he deserved to go home. You had one job. You had one tiny little job. This woman that was on his team did way more than she should have. You had one tiny little job, and you fucked it up.
Yeah.
Bad. Like, fucking bad. And then you compound it with a shitty paint job.
Yeah,
like,
it was rough.
Oh, my God. I felt so bad for
rough, like your mother likes it.
Yeah, like woo. What does the dogs think?
It was a good show. I love Face Off. I'm fan for life, probably. It was a good show. I might talk about that a little bit in the future. I haven't talked about it too much, other than talking to Ben and stuff. But we're gonna hopefully have Ben on again soon. Because he's very interested.
I'd love to get his thoughts on this season. And
he's definitely interested in coming back. So
all right.
We'll get it done. We'll get it together.
Yeah.
But I think that's going to wrap it up for this week. And now it's come to the point of the show where I shill.
Yeah, I was going to say, no.
I shill for us.
He shills.
I forgot to do it last time because I was so fucking tired. Last week was ridiculous. It was so late, and I was so dead tired.
Yeah, you're like...
I was just like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing anymore. I can't even talk.
Yeah. I'm just going to go now.
Anywho, if you like what you heard tonight on the Basement Fodder podcast, you can find all of our shows, both Basement Fodder and the Todd Files, on our brand new website, thebasementofdoom.wordpress.com. You can also find blog postings and links to videos and all that kind of happy shenanigans on there. You can also... the calendar will be one day. You can also find us on our brand new home at digitalnerdage.com. If you like listening to me, which, if you just couldn't get enough of me on 2 shows a week, well, actually, 2 to 3 shows a week, depending. You can also find me on my other job as co-host of the Geek Dig podcast with Clint Teal, the vengeful Jedi, he of the lightsabering happiness and whatnot, and me of the not giving a fuck. You can check that out at geekdigpod.com and also on multiple other audio formats that is too numerous. Yes.
Too much to
you can check Clint out at Vengeful Jedi on Twitter, and of course you can find us on Twitter at Basement Fodder. on Facebook under the Basement Fodder Podcast and Todd Dave.
Don't go faster. Your face isn't getting red enough. Chill harder. Chill harder. Chill harder.
If you're interested in custom action figures, you can also check us out. Check me out at Titan Trap Customs on Facebook or Titan Trap Custom.
He just wants you to come check him out. Like, not even talk about
come and check me out.
Yeah, just look at
it. Apparently, like figures from 2 years ago are getting really good play today.
I know, I saw that. I was like, you're like,
I shared a memory. This was a mistake. I shared a memory, and then it was a memory of a figure that I did 2 years ago.
So you can't do that.
And you can't do that because they'll see the figure and be like, I want that. And I'm like, look at the date, motherfucker.
They don't care about that. They're like, I want that figure.
The figure is sold 2 years ago.
You could do that on other pages, not that one.
But yeah, that's going to wrap it up for this week. So until next time, I'm Todd.
And I'm Dave.
And until next week, the basement door is closed.
Later, bitches.
You're listening to a Basement of Doom production. To find out more about Basement of Doom Productions, check out thebasementofdoom.wordpress.com and digitalnerdage.com.